Okay, I'm going to go ahead and get started. Some people who haven't joined us may join us later or want to watch the recording later. But ultimately, my name is Cindel Chavers. I'm a social studies instructor at the early college. I have been using Canvas for a couple years now. My whole school uses Canvas. But Jennifer and I were presenting on Canvas today to kind of talk about the possibilities of Canvas and how versatile it is and what you can do in Canvas. I know a lot of middle schools and high schools are kind of using towards it to be their learning management platform. And also we have discovered at the early college that a lot of colleges and universities that our students are going on to are using Canvas. So we are kind of hoping to show what you can do with it and kind of some examples from our classroom and then see if you have any questions. And then at the end, I can show you a few things of how to do stuff in Canvas, just very basic. And of course, if you have further questions, we can help you. Jennifer, do you want to say anything? She might be in the middle of her test. Okay, Jennifer Miller, that is with me. She may join us at the end. She is actually taking that economics, personal financial literacy course that we have to take to teach the new economics class. And they are testing currently right now. So she's going to hold back and try to finish that. And maybe she'll be able to join us. So I am going to screen share. Our PowerPoint's kind of basic. Because we were going to show you more in Canvas than anything else. So here's our contact information. Jennifer's at West and I'm at the early college. You've probably seen these session norms all week. You know, keep your micro muted unless you have questions. I'm okay if you have your camera on or off, that's fine. And then of course, use the chat box as much as you need to. And then remember, you have to complete the survey at the end of the session to give us feedback, but also so that you get your CUs as well. So first and foremost, why Canvas? It's very teacher friendly. It gives you a to-do list in the corner of things that you have and have not graded. It shows you upcoming things. It syncs to PowerSchool, and that is awesome. So your kids can see their grades in PowerSchool, and you don't have to do anything differently. I've also come to find that in the past, before I used Canvas, I used a website and I was posting everything there. So I find Canvas to be the mix between a website and being able to actually give assignments and grade assignments on there all in one place. There's a mobile app. I know a lot of high school students use the mobile app all the time to pull up assignments or even to turn in things. Sometimes they take pictures of their stuff on their phone if they wrote it out and upload it that way. So just accessibility, you can add parents into your course that they can see everything. So just having everything all in one place, I think it makes it super easy. So I am going to move to a different document and kind of pull up some things in my Canvas course. So I want to talk about discussion post. That's one of the ways that I use Canvas that I enjoy quite a bit. So here are some discussion posts. This is my home page. It has a different look as to whether you're using the app or a desktop or a Chromebook. I think it looks prettier on a Chromebook, but I always have a to-do list down here. This is just a Google slide. And then you can create buttons. These are links to different things. I actually created these images in Canva, but let's look at discussions. These are ones I've had students do and assign. So I wanted to show you a couple different ways you could do this. During the pandemic, I did a lot of how are you doing? And they could just say what's going on and just kind of dump feelings and things there. But then like with Article 2, they actually put there's more of an interpretation of a section of the Constitution. And then first, people would comment like the organization of it and grammatical errors. And then the second part, because they run in streams, was they commented on, so this is the second stream, they commented on the actual powers. So actually looking at the information, you can see this one, they're worried that the president has a lot of power and some did in the past and some didn't, and they're responding to each other and using each other's names. And so it's great to look at information and give feedback or discuss it that way. Or reflect. I did it as a reflection too. So I had topics. And so they had to reflect on how did that incorporate teamwork with an activity that we did. And you can see these are much bigger responses. And then there's a second feed. How did that involve collaboration? So you can also do it that way if you want them to be able to see each other's reflections and read what each other is doing. And then I did something really cool when we did our mock election, where the candidates were all created digitally during our remote days. So they didn't actually know who the candidate was. So they posted questions to the fake candidate. And then I sent the questions to the candidates themselves and I posted their answers. So it looks like it comes from me, but it's so they wouldn't know who the candidate was. So that was kind of a cool way we did a mock election without them knowing who the candidate was in their classroom, so that they were actually voting for the real character personality they had created. Another thing I love about Canvas, and my lights cut off in my classroom, I don't move around too much, is that it embeds things pretty easily. So in this example, I just embedded, we actually own these books in the classroom. There's like a political cartoon and questions on it. And I just did a PDF, scanned it on the copier and embedded it for the assignment to see it that way. Oh, and I forgot to show you on there, if you embed PDFs or whatever, it always gives an option to pull it out. So you could zoom in on it if you wanted to see closer. And I think that's cool. You can also embed Padlets, and there are a lot of people using Jamboards now. I used Padlets before I was familiar with Jamboards. And they can actually post directly in here. They don't have to go somewhere else. The one thing I would suggest for the Padlet is that you monitor what they're posting. So I would suggest you did it at home, you did it in class. But it's a great way for students. Like this one, they didn't post their name. This is right after the State of the Union address that was posted. What would I do next? To get some information in the discussion, especially, I got a lot of stuff out of this and students don't want to talk in class. Pear Decks, you can post the slides on there. I know a lot of teachers that use Pear Deck. You have to actually go to, that's why there's a link here, to the Pear Deck to really do the hands-on pieces. Like it won't let me do it in here. But what a lot of teachers do is the Pear Deck in class, the hands-on piece, and then post the slides to the Pear Deck on the bottom, just so they could refer back to it if they wanted to. So just so you know, Pear Deck doesn't actually embed. You do have to give a link to the Pear Deck, but at least you can put the slides in there for reference later. You can screenshot any image and post an image in. This is really an example of an image of a part of a worksheet I wanted them to look at. When we get to assignments, I'll kind of look at how docs are actually active. They can answer it and send the doc back to you. But if you embed a doc just on a page, I own this. So I can type anything in this doc that I want and they can see it live. I really like that feature when I was doing the mock trial, as we were deciding who was doing what, and I would fill this out in class on my end and their task for the day. And sometimes I would add and update this and I wouldn't have to reshare the doc. It's on the page. So they would go to the page. But that's really cool to note. Okay, and let's look at a couple more features. So that was all embedding in Canvas, things that can embed and activities you can do. And then I'm going to let you see announcements. So there's an announcement feature in Canvas. I use this quite a bit. Some teachers do, some teachers don't. Some teachers would rather email students. This does send email to the students too. But I like to use it as this is what we're doing today, or a lot when they were doing remote work. Hey, by the way, I could send certain classes notes. So like if we didn't get to something in class or I needed to change up something, I could say it in here. So, and then I wanted to show you the calendar feature and something that we did as a grade level. So we created a Canvas page course actually that was just called homeroom attendance. And we added all of our students to that. And that's where we put our remote work because we actually, as a grade level, rotated how we did remote work, which is a little bit different. But we had a calendar in there that they can actually see. If you see over here, you can actually add all your calendars in one place. And we would put like when their college assignments were due or things that were going on. Here's April, spring break. We did a mock trial over a series of Fridays so that they would have on their calendars in Canvas all the events that were going on. I don't know if y'all did a Google Calendar like that in the past in your schools. We did. We found that if we were using Canvas, it was much easier to have it in Canvas, and Canvas will pop up on the side on their to-do list, these things. So if we put their college assignments in here too, it would say, hey, this is due, even if they're not doing it in Canvas, it would remind them. Does anyone have any questions at this point? Yeah. Okay. I wanted to show you really quick how you can do the embedding and stuff. So I actually created a test course. This is my practice course. That's why it looks all funky. I was trying some different banners. But you can add a page here, or you can add an assignment here, but I like to create a module first. I think it's easier because that's how your students will see it. And so I created a test module here. And all I did to add a module was add module, and I just named it test module. And then here, you can say what you want. Let me try a page, an assignment, and all of your students' work will be here. So I wanted to show you a test page to show you all of that embedding features. So this is where normally we put all of our class content, announcements, information, readings, videos, whatever you're doing that might be outside of an assignment. So you can just post links to things, or you can actually upload an image or a media recording or a doc, or you can attach it to any of these apps. So I've used Quizlet, I've used YouTube, if it comes from there. I know a lot of our stuff comes from Google. So you can easily just click on one of these, upload your file, upload your picture, upload whatever you have from Google, your slides, and it'll embed it automatically. If it's something way different and you have an embed code, this cloud, so if it's something, we used eMaze this year, emaze.com. It's basically fancy PowerPoint. It's a mix between a PowerPoint and Prezi, really. It would give an embed code when it said share it, and they could put it in here and it would embed on their page, which was kind of cool. So this for teachers is where a lot of our content goes. And I use it like a slide, like this is one slide. So I wouldn't put too much on one page. And so when you have several pages in a row, like you can hit next. The other test I had is an assignment, and I wanted to show you a feature in here that is pretty cool. So just like Google Classroom, and a lot of people like to use Google Classroom, if you want to upload a doc that they can add to, make it their own, put in their submission, and then send it back to you, there are two ways to do that. The first way is Google Docs Cloud, and it will just put the doc in there. But when it makes the assignment, they'll have their own copy. It's theirs, and they'll submit that own copy. Take a minute. I do have a sample in here. Here, I'll see this. There it goes. And so if I said save, it puts it there. When the student sees it, it's their copy. They can edit it here. They can make it bigger and pull it out if they click on the title right here. It'll pull it out. They can edit it. It'll have a submit button. Mine doesn't because I'm on the teacher end, but it'll have a submit button. Now I can't change anything in this doc once I've saved the assignment and published it, because now it's theirs. But that's one way. There is a new way, and the new way actually looks a lot like Google Classroom, which I found kind of interesting. If you do the new LTI, it looks like this. And so I've already added the file in here, but you would add the file. And there it goes. And do this one more time. Give me the submit button. Each student get a copy. Okay. That's the I attached it earlier, so it's having a fit. But the platform that you see will look like this, and all the students' docs will be here, and you can grade it in here, which is a little more familiar for, it looks like Google Classroom, instead of the regular Canvas way where it's grader. So I'm just gonna exit out of this. And you can allow multiple attempts. You want to assign how many ever points. Put all your instructions up here. If you're not adding a Google Doc, yeah, it's pretty simple. And tell it to sync to PowerSchool if you wanted to. Yeah. So, questions?
Could you do this with a Google form also?
The only thing about forms, yes, you can put a form, but it's going to put the data in a sheet. Does that make sense?
Sure. Yeah.
The data will not go on Canvas. And two, it's not going to tell you in Canvas if they did that assignment.
Right. So it won't be as linked, basically.
No. I would say do it as a page. Do your form as a page instead of an assignment. And then you'll know in Google, in your form and sheets, you'll know who did it or their information, or if you wanted a survey or whatever.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah. Other questions? And my homepage always has buttons and things, but a lot of my colleagues just have their homepage as the modules and would just have like the units and all of the things they need for the units. And then some people did it by the week of, and then all of the stuff in order. You can also set modules that they have to complete things, like students must complete all the requirements in order, or they must do 2 or 3 things in a row. Students must complete one of these before they can move on. You can also make it where they don't open all at once. A lot of teachers make sure the units open as they're getting to them and not ahead of time. That's up to you. But I'll stop sharing for a moment. Anybody have any other questions? or questions about Canvas I might can answer. All right. Ethan, do you use Canvas?
Yes, I've used it for a couple of years. So I know a lot of the basic stuff. Trying to think of the mastery paths. I haven't really, I'm not an expert on those.
Yeah, I just took a course on mastery paths, and actually, I think that's not as hard as I thought it was.
Right.
So that's something I might try next year. Sarah, do you use Canvas?
Yes, I've used it for maybe 4 or 5 years now.
Is there anything else y'all would like to look at? Or-
Um, I think for me, it's a lot about like which things can be truly embedded and which ones, like you sort of like you showed an example of earlier, the fact that Google Forms can't be truly embedded where it talks directly to Canvas,
Right.
but like docs, sheets, and slides
Slides.
probably, yeah, they can all probably be right there and work on each copy inside of Canvas. So I think for me, it's like just balancing which of these 1,001 programs that we all have at
Yeah.
our fingertips, which ones will actually keep them on Canvas. I'm definitely a big proponent of not. I don't want them to leave Canvas unless they have to.
Have to.
So just trying to keep the number of different places they go to a
Right.
minimum.
Ed Puzzle at this time doesn't embed well, but that's something we have to turn on as a county.
Right. Yeah, I've used that puzzle a couple times before, but I used it, I think, as its own.
Yeah.
I don't think I put the two together.
No, Ed Puzzle and SchoolNet have to be turned on from our county. Those two at this time don't embed well.
Hey, Cindel.
Hey,
Sorry to chime in late here. Thank you for taking the reins this morning. I do want to say that I did Edpuzzle a lot, embedded it with Canvas quite a bit this past school year, and I didn't have.
so maybe they turned it on.
Yes, they did turn it on, and I did not have any major issues. Every once in a while, it would, I would have a few issues, but for the most part, I didn't have any major issues.
Well, and you asked for that one of our DLC sessions, so I'm glad they turned that on.
Yes. Yes, and they did. It's very nice.
So I think.
Oh, sorry. I was just thinking, so is Edpuzzle something that our county is going to continue to buy rights for? Do we know that for sure?
I think Edpuzzle is one that they will continue to support because it is used pretty heavily. I mean, obviously we can't answer that
Sure.
with total.
No, I knew
A
that.
little bit. That's kind of our conversations right now at the district level.
Gotcha.
So, yeah, we're looking at continuing that one for the next 3 years. It's
Okay.
kind of the thought process on this. I'm not in charge of budgeting, but that was in the conversation.
Okay. I
Well,
was just curious.
did the county purchase or Pear Deck, or was that my school?
No, we did Pear Deck, Edpuzzle, at least the ones that would go through 912. Yeah. And both of those, the consideration is for the next 3 years.
Gotcha. Yeah, I found Pear Deck helpful for like polling and that kind of thing. Within math, I think it would be enhanced for me. I think if there's a way for students to write on their devices, but it's really good for polling and getting a snapshot of how well they understand things.
Ethan, I might email you because
Sure.
the person that I observed for the DLC stuff was a math 3 teacher, and she only ever uses Pear Deck. And I feel like they did problems. Let me talk to her.
Okay, because I know there's that draw feature in Pear Deck,
Yeah.
and that's really where the kids would most easily show their work. But if they don't have a way to write on the device, trying to write out your math work through your
Right.
mouse is basically infuriating.
Let me go back and look at her stuff and see if I can offer any suggestions that might help. Because I just remember she only did Pear Deck like all the
Um,
time.
Sure, yeah. No.
What were you able to go through most of everything on our list, or is there anything that I need to pop in and share?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, if you want to show your homepage or
Okay, I will be happy to.
want
Let me,
other examples.
yeah, give me just a sec. I got everything kind of set up here. Can you guys see everything okay?
Yeah.
So I use, well, here we go. So I use my homepage as I'm sure Cindel mentioned too, just as a landing page. And so I change it actually pretty frequently, where I always keep some of the things, like these are all my buttons for all my units. I run everything by unit. But I also will add things like like here at the end of the semester, I added in just a button to make it very easy for kids to get to their final exam and their final exam review instead of them having to click around a whole lot. I found that very useful. And then I keep other important information that I want them to have access to pretty frequently. And also just important like sign out sheets, for example, I would put that on here. Sometimes I would link that, or kids, if it's something they did regularly, I tried to keep it on the homepage. And then pages, you can see there's all kinds of different pages. And one of the tips I went to, one of the Canvas trainings I went to, was adding in like emojis for kids to be able to kind of see what they were looking at within your modules. So this is just my list of all the pages. And I always think of pages as just being that, housing that information. And then I also have external links. For example, this is an actual Google Cloud assignment, which Cindel, did you talk about those?
Yes, and I showed the new LTI and how this looks
Okay.
more like Google Classroom.
Yes, this does. I think, and from what I'm sure Cindel said, they're kind of getting away from. They're going to be getting rid of the old one. So I started utilizing this one. It looks a lot like Google Classroom. But the reason I did this was because I linked in like instructions. And so this is an external link. So you can link just about anything in Canvas. And then within Canvas itself, this was just a great example of what you can link to. You can basically link to everything. So again, I really like Canvas because it keeps everything housed right here. So I think that's, a good thing to note as well. I just like that you can kind of keep it all. And even with linking in Canvas, like for example, progress reports, like if you go, and I don't think I can show it on here because the grades are finished. But if you download a progress report through Canvas, everything on that progress report will link back.
Oh, I think we lost you.
Oh, we lost your audio.
Yeah, Jennifer, we can't hear you.
Uh-oh. So-
I might have been texting.
Where is-
Okay.
There you go. We can hear you
Now
now.
you can hear me. So everything, I'm sorry about that. I don't know what happened when I started screen sharing, it stopped. My mic stopped working. Basically, allowing students just to stay within Canvas is really helpful, or was very helpful for me and my students. The linking features of being able to, I think so you didn't hear me talk about progress reports. I really liked that when I printed a progress report through the grades feature in Canvas, that it would link directly to the assignment in Canvas. So again, like, you could email it emailed as a PDF, and then it would, you could click on the links in the PDF and it take them directly to the Canvas assignment. And I loved that. Being able to keep them all there was much better to keep them all on task. So, and the Google Docs features, being able to just basically embed anything you use in your Google Drive. You can either embed it or you can use that feature. It's just very, very helpful, and it plays very nicely with Google. And it made my life so much easier. That's one of the reasons I switched to Canvas, because it just made my life a lot simpler. And once students learned how to use it, it had some great features there for them too.
Well, and you can transfer over your course from the previous year to the next year.
Yes, that is very helpful too. And what I like to do a lot of times too is I will typically, I know Cindel, you had said you had some issues with that too, when you transfer everything over, it just being a lot, and it is. But sometimes I like to leave some of my old stuff in there just to give me ideas of what I can use, and then I can always add and change, and that's always really helpful too.
Yeah, and you can always unpublish
Mhm.
everything and publish it as
Exactly.
well.
Yeah, which is really nice too. To have that flexibility is great.
Any other questions? Anything else anyone wants to know about Canvas? Well, I guess we can go ahead and post that link.
Cindel, do you have the link to post?
Yeah, I was gonna go
Okay.
get that. That should be the survey for this quiz. Yeah, there you go. So everyone can go ahead and do the survey. And hopefully win a prize. Although I have not won a prize yet.
And I know Cindel feels this way too. If you guys are trying to work through something to try to figure out, reach out to either one of us. I mean, we've both been using it for several years now. And so if you tell us what you want to do, we can help you figure out how to make it happen in Canvas. Because sometimes it's just trying to figure out, you know what you want to do in your head. It's getting it into the system. So.
Yeah, I think the part that I need to work on is making my canvas a little bit, I guess, nicer looking. I'm good at making it very, modules and structured and all that, but it's not exactly the most eye appealing thing in the world. So I think using, like Canva and other ways to like edit a home screen and make that a little bit more fun, I think that's some of the small things I need to get better at. Just to kind of make it nicer for the students instead of just being kind of.
And we talked about too that it would be great. We feel like if there was a countywide kind of template to use as like a homepage, and then you could, customize it for your class just for consistency. But I don't know that that's, coming down the pipe anytime soon. So.
Right. No, I hear you. Well, thank you guys very much for going over this stuff. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Joining us.
guys.
See you.
All right, I guess I'll stop the recording.
Great.